Hey everybody, time for the shop update here at Woodsmith. It's Thursday afternoon. We have a few projects that we finished up on, a couple that we're getting started, and even a little personal project too, because frankly, they're all personal.
Hey everyone, update on the Dillon Design Toolbox. If you didn't check in with Facebook several weeks ago, I'll give you a rerun of what's going on with this guy. So, mainly made of Baltic birch plywood and cherry plywood. Start with the sides and the top. I cheated a little bit on the top with this grid. It's 1/2 inch Baltic birch, and I had Chris CNC these little squares out. And this can be easily done with just a jigsaw and a template and a router. You can spend hours and hours and hours doing that, but I cheated and got Chris to do it instead. Saved a bit of time. So the concept behind this is to have a locking mechanism to keep the drawers in place as you wheel it around. It's got a lid that stays open, which is good. These little wings keep the drawers from going everywhere and coming out when it's moving. Little pins there to locate on top of there to keep it in place. Like I said earlier, we've got 1/4 inch cherry plywood to form this kind of accent piece below the grid system on the Baltic birch. The false fronts and the doors are solid cherry. I think the coolest thing about this is the pulls on this, which Dillon found. These are pretty cool devices. Push them in, pull it out, then they go back to flush again. So this is the first time we use these guys, so they're pretty cool. Baltic birch interior on the drawer boxes, solid cherry false fronts. Now you thought they were doors, didn't you? Nope, they're big drawers. Surprise. So we've got some big drawers there, store a lot of stuff in that. There's one more thing I'm waiting on for this, and it is the handle that's going to go on here to operate this up and down. So that's pretty much that. Just to give it a couple of coats of paint. This has just got some sealer on it. I think that is it. There's a lot going on in this, so there probably is something I'm missing. But if I think about it, I'll tell you next week. Anyway, so on to my next project, which is another Dillon Design project, which is industrial shelving. So I got started on this today. It's going to be made of MDF and veneer MDF with rift sawn white oak as the shelves. These pieces here are going to be painted and made look like steel I-beams. So that's what we've got going on there. And yeah, as it's a Dillon Design, there's more holes to cut out. So the shelves get an edging once they're all said and done with aluminum. And we're going to do a cool paint process that Dillon could probably explain better. That's going to involve making this look like real steel. So rather than MDF, so got a ways to go on that, but got started on this today, so check in next week. Okay. That's all I got.
Alright. So the paint that Mark's referring to is a product by Modern Masters. It's they do a line of stuff, but they have metallic paint. Chris, I know have you used Modern Masters before?
Yes.
So they do I think several different types of finishes and applications, or is it just one?
They've got a pretty extensive line. You can buy metallic paints and underlying finishes, which you can then add patinas to, as well as clear over paints.
Okay. So we'll be doing a little experimenting with that. It's a new product for me, so we'll order some stuff in and do a little experimentation and see if we get some results that we like. Otherwise, I've been working on a project for a home project. I've had a complete overhaul of the bathroom. A very small one, and so space is limited, and I needed to buy or build something that fit the space. So I built a floating vanity This sits about 6 inches off the ground, just above the trim. Open up the 2 doors here. It's all open, so of course the housing for the plumbing and the water will go under there, and then there'll be room for cleaning supplies and just kind of extra bathroom stuff. But the construction on it is riffs on white oak with MDF core. It's got a hardwood face frame on it. The doors are also veneered MDF riffs on, and then I just edged it out with some basically 1/8-inch strips of hardwood just to kind of cover up the MDF there. Had some hardware left over from one of our projects, and then used some Portland brass 2-inch butt hinges on there, used some magnets to keep it closed, and then up top here I was able to source some elm from a local sawmill guy named, do we know Bob's last name by chance? Bob the sawmill guy. Lives down in Swan, Iowa, which is down by Runnels. So, but he runs this sawmill in retirement, and he's got quite the extensive collection of domestic hardwoods from kind of the metro and around the metro area. So I was able to acquire some material from him, which turned out really nice. I got some really nice straight grain stuff. This is just screwed at the top. I did the kind of bump out there to accommodate the sink that I bought, which is a vessel style sink in an elliptical shape. That just goes on top there. And then of course I have my faucet that's kind of offset there too, just to kind of conserve space. I didn't want something just right here that sat over the center, and I have 0 space behind here. I just left basically 1/4 inch on the front and back just to keep things really tight. And again, to conserve space as much as possible. So the finish on here, I did 2 coats of lacquer, catalyzed lacquer, and then I used a liming wax on top of the lacquer. As you can see, it rests inside the grain on there and kind of makes the grain pop. So it fit in with the grout and the tile we have in our bathroom, and so I think it will just accent stuff really well, or at least I hope it does. There's no going back now, but outside of that, I'm working on a couple more projects for Woodsmith and Shop Notes. I think this time next week and maybe take a look at those and talk about those a little bit more. Otherwise, we are working towards getting an issue out next week. So check in with us next week. Phil.
All right, there you have it. That's it for the shop update this week. If you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks, you can put those in the comments section below. Don't forget to check out our podcast, Shop Notes Podcast, as well as keep your calendars open for October 10th and 11th, Woodworking in America, right back here in Des Moines, Iowa. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.